The battle for Cathara became a lesson in human warfare that the galaxy would never forget. While the Korthak fleet scrambled to respond to an enemy they had never imagined, human ships moved through space like hunting predators, each one knowing exactly where to strike. Lieutenant Tejo and his Marines fought their way through the corridors of the Korthak heavy cruiser. The ship's interior was dark and filled with sharp metal edges, built by and for a species that enjoyed violence. Every surface had spikes or blades, and the air smelled of metal and blood. "Contact front," Sergeant Wansik called out as more Korthak warriors appeared around a corner. These aliens were even larger than the first one, their black armor decorated, with bone trophies from previous battles. They carried weapons that fired bolts of crackling energy. The first energy bolt struck Tejo's armor and left a glowing mark on the metal. The second one hit Sergeant Min Jun and knocked him backward. But human-powered armor was designed to operate in the vacuum of space and the heart of a nuclear explosion. Alien energy weapons were painful, but not deadly. "Suppressing fire," Tejo ordered. His squad opened up with their rifles, filling the corridor with armor-piercing rounds. The Korthak warriors were tough, but even their natural armor could not stop focused human gunfire. But what really shocked the aliens was what happened next. Instead of maintaining distance like every other species in the galaxy, the humans charged forward into close combat. Tejo drew his combat knife, a 30-centimeter blade of hardened steel, and closed with the nearest Korthak. The alien warrior swung its energy sword at the human's head. Tejo ducked under the blow and drove his knife between the creature's armor plates. Black blood sprayed across the corridor walls. "Impossible," the dying Korthak gasped in its own language. "Nothing fights like this. Nothing comes close when it can stay far." Tejo did not understand the words, but he understood the tone. Fear. The Korthak were learning that humans fought differently than anyone else in the galaxy. On the bridge of the Soul's Pride, Admiral Do-Yun coordinated the fleet battle with cold precision. His ships moved in coordinated groups, each one supporting the others. When Korthak vessels tried to focus fire on a single human ship, two others would appear from unexpected angles to destroy the attackers. "Admiral," Captain Nari reported, "the enemy flagship is attempting to retreat toward the hyperspace exit point." "Captain Minho," Do-Yun transmitted to the destroyer squadron, "do not let War Leader Vex escape." "Understood, Admiral. Moving to intercept." The Busan Thunder and 3 other destroyers appeared in front of the fleeing Korthak flagship, like wolves cutting off a running deer. Their missile batteries opened fire simultaneously, sending dozens of kinetic rounds toward the massive enemy vessel. On the bridge of the Bone Crusher, War Leader Vex watched his fleet die around him. These humans fought like nothing he had ever seen. Their ships were fast and maneuverable, but they also carried impossible amounts of armor and firepower. Their weapons punched through Korthak hulls like they were made of paper. "Lord," his tactical officer reported, "we have lost 60% of the fleet. The remaining ships are scattered and unable to coordinate." "How?" Vex demanded. "They are only 50 ships against our 120. "Lord, I do not think these humans count ships the same way we do. Each of their vessels fights like it is worth 3 of ours." Vex stared at the tactical display. The human ships moved with perfect coordination, as if they were all controlled by a single mind. When one was damaged, others immediately moved to protect it. When they attacked, they did so with overwhelming force concentrated on a single target. "Communications," he ordered. "Contact the human admiral. I will negotiate terms." But when Admiral Do-Yun's face appeared on the screen, his expression was as cold as space itself. "War Leader Vex, ready to surrender?" "I am prepared to discuss terms," Vex replied. "The Dominion is willing to withdraw from this system in exchange for safe passage." "No." The simple word hit Vex like a physical blow. "What do you mean, no?" "I mean, you have been murdering civilians for weeks. You turned a peaceful world into a graveyard. You do not get to negotiate your way out of that." "You do not understand," Vex said desperately. "The Dominion is vast. We control 300 worlds. If you destroy this fleet, others will come. Hundreds of fleets will come. Do-yun's expression did not change. Then we will destroy them too. The transmission ended. A few seconds later, kinetic rounds from the destroyer squadron struck the Bone Crusher's engines. The massive ship shuddered and began to drift helplessly in space. On the planet's surface, Commander Yella heard the sound of human dropships landing near her shelter. Through the cracks in the debris above, she could see strange angular vessels setting down among the ruins of her city. Ramps opened, and figures in metal armor began moving through the wreckage. "Are they friends or enemies?" whispered one of her surviving crew members. "I do not know," Yella admitted. "But they are fighting the Korthak. That makes them better than what we had." A new sound made them all freeze. The harsh voices of Korthak ground troops, very close to their hiding place. The alien warriors had found their shelter. "Villani insects," a Korthak voice called in accented standard. "We know you are in there. Come out and we will make your deaths quick." Heavy footsteps moved closer to the shelter entrance. Yella could hear the aliens moving debris, trying to dig down to where her people hid. In a few minutes they would break through. Then a new voice spoke. Not Korthak, but something else. It said words in a language Yella did not recognize, but the tone was unmistakably commanding. The Korthak voices answered angrily. Suddenly the shelter shook as explosions erupted above them. Gunfire echoed through the ruins. Not the crackling, energy weapons of the Korthak, but the sharp crack of projectile rifles. Alien voices screamed in pain and rage. The battle lasted only a few minutes. Then silence fell over the ruins. "Hello?" A new voice called in heavily accented standard. "Villani people, we are here to help. We are humans." Yella looked at her surviving crew members. They were all thinking the same thing. Humans were the species the galaxy called Deathworlders. Stories said they were violent predators who came from a world of endless war. But right now, they were the only hope her people had. "We are here," she called back. "We are trapped under the debris." "Stand back from the entrance," the human voice replied. "We will dig you out." The sound of heavy machinery filled the air. Within minutes, bright lights shone down into the shelter as human soldiers cleared away the wreckage. The first figure Yella saw was a giant in metal armor, its face hidden behind a reflective helmet. The human removed its helmet, revealing a young face with kind eyes. "My name is Dr. He-Wan," the figure said. Yella realized with surprise that this fearsome armored warrior was actually a female. "I am a doctor. Are any of your people injured?" "Several," Yella replied. "But we do not know if human medicine can help Villani." "We will figure it out," Dr. He-Wan said confidently. "That is what doctors do." More humans appeared at the shelter entrance, their armor making them look like metal giants. But when they spoke, their voices were gentle. When they helped injured Villani to the surface, their touch was careful and kind. Above them all, the last Korthak ships died in flashes of light. Admiral Do-yun had kept his promise. The slaughter was over. "Why did you come?" Commander Yella asked Dr. He-Wan as human medics treated her wounded people. "We are strangers to you. Why risk your lives for us?" The human doctor looked up at the burning sky, where the wreckage of the Korthak fleet was slowly falling toward the planet. "Because someone had to," she said simply. "Your message reached us, and we had the power to help. That made it our responsibility." Yella did not fully understand the concept. In the wider galaxy, species helped their own and ignored the suffering of others. But as she watched human soldiers gently carry injured Villani to safety, she began to understand why the galaxy feared these Deathworlders. They were dangerous not just because they were strong, but because they cared about strangers. The battle for Cathara ended with the complete destruction of the Korthak fleet. Not a single enemy ship escaped to carry word back to the Dominion. War Leader Vex's flagship, the Bone Crusher, burned in the planet's atmosphere after Lieutenant Taeho's Marines had systematically destroyed every critical system on board. Admiral Do-yun stood in the ruins of the Villani capital city, watching his engineers set up temporary shelters for the survivors. The crystal towers that had once sung in the wind were now melted glass, but human construction equipment was already clearing space for emergency housing. Commander Yella approached him carefully. The human admiral was much taller than any Vallani, and his military uniform made him look intimidating, but when he turned to face her, his eyes were kind. "Commander," he said, speaking through a translation device, "how many of your people survived?" "Fewer than 1,000, Yella replied sadly. "Out of nearly 1 billion souls." She looked around, at the devastated city. "We had no weapons, no way to fight back. We thought the galaxy was peaceful." "The galaxy is what we make it," Do-Yun said quietly. "Your people chose to make it more beautiful. The Korthak chose to make it more violent. We chose to stop them." Dr. Haiwan joined them, her medical tablet in hand. "Admiral, I have good news. Vallani physiology is more adaptable than we thought. With some modifications to our medical equipment, we can treat their injuries effectively. What do they need to survive? Sunlight, clean water, and soil with specific mineral content for their photosynthetic plants. We can provide all of that." The doctor looked around at the destruction. "But it will take years to rebuild their civilization." "Then we will give them years," Do-Yun decided. "Captain Nari, establish a permanent garrison in this system. 3 ships minimum, rotating crews every 6 months." Captain Nari, who had been coordinating the evacuation of Vallani survivors, looked up in surprise. "Sir, that will require approval from Earth Command, and the Galactic Council will protest our military presence in this sector." "The Galactic Council had 50 years to protect the Vallani," Do-Yun replied coldly. "They chose to write complaint letters instead. As for Earth Command, they sent us here to rescue civilians. Protecting them afterward is part of the same mission." Lieutenant Tae-ho approached with his combat report. His powered armor was scratched and dented from the boarding action, but his face was satisfied. "Admiral, we captured several Korthak, officers alive. Their ship records contain navigation data for the entire Dominion fleet structure." "What did you learn?" "The Dominion is larger than we thought. Over 300 worlds under their control, and they have conquered or destroyed 47 different species in the last century." Tae-ho's expression darkened. "Sir, they keep detailed records of their conquests. What they did to the Vallani, they have done to dozens of other peaceful species." Do-Yun felt that cold anger settle in his chest again. "Where is their main fleet, divided among their conquered territories?" "The largest concentration is at their capital world of Korth Prime, maybe 200 ships." "Only 200? Captain Nari asked. "They have never needed more, Lieutenant." Tae-ho explained. "Most species surrender when they arrive. The few that fight back are usually destroyed quickly." Commander Yella listened to this conversation with growing amazement. These humans were talking about fighting the entire Korthak Dominion as if it were a normal military operation. The Dominion controlled hundreds of worlds and had millions of warriors. How could 50 human ships challenge such a massive empire? "Admiral," she said hesitantly, "surely you cannot fight the entire Dominion. When they learn what happened here, they will send overwhelming force against your world." Do-Yun looked at her with what might have been amusement. "Commander, the Korthak Dominion has been expanding for generations because nobody stood up to them. Every species they encountered either surrendered immediately or was destroyed quickly. They have never fought anyone who could fight back effectively. But their numbers matter," Captain Nari agreed. "But tactics, training, and technology matter more. The Korthak build their strategy around intimidating peaceful species. They have no experience fighting dedicated warriors." Dr. Haiwan was checking her communication tablet. "Admiral, I am receiving reports from our other ships. The rescue teams have found Vallani survivors in 7 other locations across the planet. Total count is now 1,100 individuals." "Any children?" "About 200, mostly young ones, who were in deep shelters when the bombardment began." Do-Yun felt some of the tension leave his shoulders. A species could survive and rebuild if it had children. "Priority goes to evacuating the children to safety. How long until we can establish a secure base on the planet?" 3 days for basic facilities, reported Commander Kyung-soo, who had been coordinating the construction efforts. 2 weeks for a full military base with defensive systems. Do it. Do-yun turned back to Commander Yella. Your people need time to heal and rebuild. My people will make sure you have that time. As the human ships took up patrol positions around Cathara, word of the battle spread through the galaxy on subspace communication networks. The news was impossible to believe at first. 50 human ships had destroyed a Korthak fleet of over 100 vessels without losing a single ship. On dozens of worlds, species that had written off the Villani as extinct received incredible news. The Deathworlders had come when no one else would. In the Galactic Council chambers on Nexus Prime, the news caused chaos. Ambassador Trell of the Centauri Republic stood at the speaking podium, his scaled face flushed with anger. The humans have violated every principle of galactic law, he declared. They attacked Dominion forces without authorization from this council. They have established a military presence in contested space. This aggression cannot be tolerated. Ambassador Chen of the Sol Federation stood to respond. She was a small, human woman with gray hair and tired eyes, but her voice carried across the vast chamber. Honored delegates, the Galactic Council had decades to address Korthak expansion. You chose to issue warnings and file protests while innocent species died. Humanity chose to act. The humans are warmongers, Ambassador Trell shot back. This incident proves they cannot be trusted with military power. No, Ambassador Chen replied calmly. This incident proves that sometimes military power is necessary to protect the innocent. The Villani are alive today because humans were willing to risk their lives for strangers. The debate raged for hours, but in the end, the council could do nothing. The human fleet was already in place around Cathara, and removing them would require force that none of the council species possessed. Deep in Dominion space, High War Leader Krex received the first reports of the disaster at Cathara. His massive form sat on a throne made from the bones of conquered enemies, and his red eyes glowed with rage as he read the details. Impossible, he growled. 50 ships cannot destroy a fleet of over 100. The reports must be wrong. Lord, his aide said carefully, we have confirmed the loss of all vessels in the Cathara fleet. No survivors have returned. Then send a larger fleet. 500 ships. Destroy these humans and finish burning the Villani world. Lord, we do not know the location of the human homeworld. The attack fleet came from empty space and left no trace of their origin. Krex's claws scraped against his bone throne. For the first time in his long career of conquest, he faced an enemy he could not locate or understand. These humans had appeared from nowhere, destroyed his fleet, and vanished back into the darkness. But the Dominion would find them, and when they did, Krex would show the galaxy what happened to species that dared to challenge Korthak supremacy. On Cathara, Admiral Do-yun stood in the command center of the new human base, watching the first Villani children play in the temporary gardens his engineers had constructed. Commander Yella worked beside Dr. Haiwan, planning the reconstruction of her people's civilization. Admiral, Captain Nari reported, long-range sensors detect no enemy ships in the surrounding systems. The area appears secure. For now, Do-yun replied. But the Dominion will return. When they do, we will be ready. Commander Yella approached him with a crystal tablet containing a message her people had prepared. Admiral, the surviving Villani have voted to send a message to Earth. We want your people to know how grateful we are. Do-yun read the message through his translation device. It was written in the flowing script of the Villani language, but the meaning was clear. Thank you for proving that the galaxy still has heroes. We are not heroes, Commander, Do-yun said quietly. We are just the ones who showed up. But as the human ships continued their patrol of the Cathara system, the message was already spreading across the galaxy. Species that had hidden from Korthak expansion began to whisper about the Deathworlders who fought for strangers. Enslaved peoples in Dominion territory heard rumors of liberation. The galaxy was changing. The age of unchallenged conquest was ending. And somewhere in the dark between the stars, the ships of humanity waited for the next call for help. Captain Jiho stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the stars through the big window. His ship was called Harmony's Light, and it was home to 50 peaceful aliens called the Villani. They had blue skin that glowed softly in the dark, and they were much taller than most other beings in the galaxy. The Villani loved to learn new things and explore space, but they never fought wars. They did not even know how to make weapons. Jiho had been captain for 20 years. He was calm and wise, and his crew trusted him completely. Right now, they were flying near a planet called Karis Prime. This planet had old buildings from a very ancient time, and the Villani wanted to study them. Maybe they could learn something new about how life began in this part of space. "Captain," said Minho, the young alien who worked with the communication systems. His voice sounded worried. "I am seeing something strange on our long-range sensors." Jiho walked over to look at the screen. There were many dots moving toward them from far away. Too many dots. "How many ships?" he asked. Minho checked his readings twice. "More than 200, Captain. They are moving very fast." The bridge became quiet. Everyone knew that the Villani only had 12 ships in their whole fleet, and most of those were for science work, not fighting. They had never needed fighting ships before. "Can you tell who they are?" Jiho asked. "Yes, Captain," Minho said, and his glow became dimmer with fear. "They are Kreth ships, the war people. Everyone on the bridge knew about the Kreth. They were scary aliens who traveled from planet to planet, taking everything they wanted. They had thick, dark skin like armor, and they were very strong. The Kreth loved to fight, and they had the best weapons in the galaxy. When they came to a planet, they took all the valuable things and made the people there work as slaves." "How long until they get here?" Jiho asked. 3 days, Minho answered. Jiho felt his heart beating fast, but he kept his voice calm. "Send a message to all Villani ships. Tell them to come here right away. Then contact our home planet and tell them what is happening." But even as he gave these orders, Jiho knew it would not help. The Villani had no weapons, no shields that could stop Kreth attacks, and no way to fight back. They were scientists and doctors and teachers, not soldiers. The next 2 days passed very slowly. More Villani ships arrived, but there were only 11 of them. The captain of each ship came to meet with Jiho. They sat in a circle and tried to think of what to do. "We could try to run away," said Captain Nayan from the ship Peaceful Dawn. "Maybe we can get to the edge of the system before they arrive." "The Kreth ships are faster than ours," said Captain Young-ho from Gentle Breeze. "They will catch us easily." "What about hiding?" asked Captain Suman. "We could turn off our engines and float behind the big moon." Jiho shook his head sadly. "Their sensors are too good. They will find us." One by one, they talked about every idea they could think of. But every idea had the same problem. The Villani were not made for fighting. Their people had spent thousands of years learning how to heal sick people, how to make better food, and how to understand the stars. They had never learned how to hurt anyone. On the 3rd day, the Kreth fleet arrived. Jiho watched from his bridge as the enemy ships came out of hyperspace. They were black and covered with sharp points. They looked like they were made for destroying things. The biggest Kreth ship was 3 times larger than any Villani ship. A message came through the communication system. It was in the Kreth language, which sounded like growling and hissing. Minho quickly translated it. "They want us to surrender," Minho said. "They say if we give up now, they will let some of us live to work for them." Jiho looked around at his crew. These were good people who had never hurt anyone in their lives. They made medicine that could help people live longer. They had beautiful art and music. They had families waiting for them at home. "Tell them no," Jiho said quietly. The Kreth answer came in the form of weapons fire. Bright red beams shot out from their ships and hit the shields around the Villani vessels. The shields, which were only made to protect against space dust and radiation, began to break apart immediately. "Shields down to 60%, shouted Yunji from the defense station. More weapons fired. The Villani ships shook and lights flickered as their shields failed. "Captain," Minho said, "I am getting damage reports from all ships. Our shields cannot stop their weapons. Jiho made a hard decision. All ships retreat to the planet's surface. Get behind the mountains if you can. The Villani fleet flew down to Karis Prime as fast as they could. Some of them made it, others did not. Jiho watched sadly as the ship Morningstar was hit by many weapons at once. It broke apart in a bright flash of light. 37 good people died in that moment. On the planet's surface, the Villani ships landed in a valley between tall mountains. But they all knew it would not help for long. The Kreth had weapons that could break apart whole planets if they wanted to. Minho, Jiho said, I want you to send a message. To who, Captain? Our home planet is too far away to help us. Send it to everyone, Jiho said. Every species, every planet, every ship that might be listening. Tell them what is happening here. Minho looked confused. But Captain, most aliens are too afraid of the Kreth to help us, and the ones who are not afraid are too far away. Send the message anyway, Jiho said firmly. Tell them that the Villani people are about to die. Tell them we will give our medical technology to anyone who helps us. Tell them we will share everything we know about healing and long life. This was a big offer. The Villani medical technology was the best in the galaxy. It could make people live for hundreds of years longer than normal. Many species would want this technology very much. Minho began typing the message. He sent it out on every frequency, in every language his computer knew. The message was simple. Help us, and we will help you live longer. But even as the message flew through space, more Kreth ships were landing on the planet. They began setting up big weapons that could destroy cities. The Villani people in the towns and cities were running and hiding, but there was nowhere safe to go. The message is sent, Captain, Minho said. Jiho nodded. Now we wait. Do you think anyone will come? Asked Yunji. Jiho looked out at the dark sky where enemy ships were flying overhead. I do not know, he said honestly. But if we are going to die, at least we tried. Far away in space, the message traveled from star to star. Most species who received it were too scared to help. Others were too far away. But in one small corner of the galaxy, on a space station near a yellow star, someone was listening. Someone from a planet that other aliens called a Deathworld. Someone who was not afraid of the Kreth. Admiral Hyamin was drinking her morning coffee when the message arrived. She was sitting in her office on the space station New Seoul, looking at reports about ship repairs and crew schedules. It was supposed to be a quiet day. The door opened, and Lieutenant Kyung rushed in. He was young and smart, and he worked with alien communications. His face looked very serious. Admiral, you need to hear this, he said, holding a small device. Hyamin put down her coffee cup. What is it? A distress call from an unknown species. Our computers are still trying to translate it, but it sounds very urgent. Kyung pressed. A button and alien voices filled the room. The words were strange and musical, but there was no mistaking the fear in them. The computer's translation came through in a flat electronic voice. Help us. We are the Villani people. The Kreth are destroying our worlds. We offer our medical technology to anyone who can save us. Please, we are dying. Hyamin stood up quickly. She had heard of the Kreth before. They were one of the worst species in the galaxy, violent aliens who conquered peaceful worlds and took everything valuable. How far away are they? She asked. Kyung checked his tablet. 3 days at maximum speed, Admiral. But the message is already 2 days old. We might only have 1 day left to help them. What do we know about these Villani? Not much, Kyung admitted. But the medical technology they are offering. Admiral, our computers analyzed some of the technical data they included. If it is real, this could make humans live 3 times longer than we do now. Hyamin thought fast. In the human military, officers were taught to make quick decisions. Their home planet Earth was a dangerous world with bad weather, wild animals, and natural disasters. Humans had to learn to act fast or die. Get me Admiral Park at Fleet Command, she said. Within minutes, she was talking to her boss through a video screen. Admiral Park was an old man with gray hair and many scars from battles with alien pirates. Admiral Park, I need permission to take a fleet to help some aliens who are under attack. How many ships do you need? Park asked without hesitation. He did not ask why or if it was worth the risk. In the human military, helping people in danger was always worth the risk. 12 heavy cruisers, 48 destroyers, and 30,000 Marines, Yemen said. Done. You have full authority. Take the Inchin's Wrath as your flagship. The Inchin's Wrath was the biggest and strongest ship in the human fleet. It was built like a flying fortress, with armor thick enough to stop almost any weapon. Thank you, sir. We will leave in 6 hours. Hi, Yemen, Admiral Park said seriously. Be careful. The galaxy is full of species that think humans are monsters. Do not give them more reasons to fear us. Admiral Park was right. Most aliens were afraid of humans because they came from Earth, a planet so dangerous that other species called it a death world. The gravity was too strong, the weather was too violent, and the animals were too aggressive for most aliens to survive there. But this same dangerous world had made humans very good at fighting and surviving. Human ships were built strong because they had to survive meteor storms and solar flares. Human soldiers were tough because they grew up in a world that tried to kill them every day. Yemen ended the call and immediately began giving orders. Contact all ship captains. I want every vessel ready for combat in 6 hours. Load full weapons and supplies for a month-long mission. The space station became very busy. Thousands of human soldiers and sailors ran to their ships. Supply ships moved food, ammunition, and medical supplies. Engineers checked every weapon and engine. Captain Sunwoo commanded the destroyer Busan's Edge. He was a calm man who had fought alien pirates for 15 years. As his crew prepared for battle, he explained the situation to his officers. We are going to help some peaceful aliens fight off attackers, he said. The aliens we are fighting are called the Kreth. They have more ships than us, but their technology is built for attacking planets, not fighting other military ships. How many more ships? Asked his weapons officer. About 20 times more, Sunwoo said calmly. Some of the younger officers looked worried, but the older ones just nodded. Humans were used to being outnumbered. On Earth, early humans had to fight giant predators and survive in small groups against impossible odds. Colonel Do-Yun was in charge of all the Marines. He was a big, strong man with many battle scars. As his soldiers checked their weapons and armor, he gave them a speech. We are going to save people who cannot save themselves, he said. The enemy thinks they can destroy innocent aliens because no one will stop them. They are wrong. We will stop them. Sir, what if we lose? Asked a young Marine. Then we lose fighting for something good, Do-Hyun replied. But we will not lose. We are humans from Earth, and Earth does not raise losers. The Marines cheered. They had all heard stories about Earth from their parents and grandparents. Stories about humans who fought giant animals with simple tools. Stories about people who survived ice ages and floods and earthquakes. The Marines were proud to be the children of such strong people. Lieutenant Tai-hyun was a fighter pilot. His ship was called Seoul's Fury, and it was small and fast. He was checking his weapons when his squadron leader came to talk to him. Tae-hyun, this will be your first battle against a major alien military, the squadron leader said. Are you ready? Yes, sir. My grandfather fought in the pirate wars. He taught me that the most important thing is to never give up. Good. Remember, human fighters are faster than most alien ships because we build them to fly in Earth's atmosphere. Earth's air is thick and stormy, so our ships are very maneuverable. As the fleet prepared to leave, Admiral Yemen walked through the ships to talk to her people. She wanted them to understand what they were about to do. We do not know these Villani aliens, she told a group of young sailors, but they asked for help and they are dying. In human culture, that is enough. We help people who need help. Admiral, asked one sailor, what if other alien species get angry at us for interfering? Let them be angry, Hammond said firmly. Humans did not come to space to make friends with bullies. We came here to build a better galaxy. As the ships prepared to jump to hyperspace, Kyung brought Yemen the latest intelligence reports. Admiral, we have learned more about the Kreth military. They use a lot of ships with medium weapons designed to overwhelm planetary defenses, but they have very little experience fighting against dedicated military vessels. What about their tactics? They rely on fear and superior numbers. When they attack a planet, most species surrender immediately rather than fight back. Hyemen smiled grimly. They have never fought humans before. No, Admiral. In fact, most species in the galaxy think humans are too dangerous to attack, but also too violent to ask for help. Then these Villani are either very brave or very desperate. Probably both, Admiral. The fleet jumped to hyperspace right on schedule. 60 ships carrying the strongest military force humans had ever sent to help strangers. As they traveled through the strange space between stars, Admiral Heeman stood on the bridge of her flagship and thought about what they were about to do. Other species in the galaxy fought wars for territory or resources, but humans were different. They fought for ideas like justice and protecting innocent people. This difference made other aliens think humans were crazy. Maybe they were right. Maybe it was crazy to travel across the galaxy to help aliens they had never met, aliens who might not even survive until the humans arrived. But as Admiral Hyeman looked out at the strange lights of hyperspace, she knew they were doing the right thing. Her grandmother had always told her, "Good people help other good people even when it is hard." The human fleet flew toward the Keras system, carrying 30,000 soldiers who were ready to fight and die for people they had never seen, simply because those people had asked for help. In 3 days, the galaxy would learn something new about the species from the death world called Earth. War Commander Vaxius stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his fleet destroy another Villani city. He was a big Kreth warrior with thick black skin and 4 arms. Each arm ended in sharp claws that could cut through metal. Like all Kreth, he loved the smell of victory and the sound of buildings falling down. "Commander," said Intelligence Officer Naru, "we have destroyed 8 Villani cities. Their remaining ships are hiding behind the mountains on the planet's surface." "Good," Vaxius growled. "How much longer until we have all their medical technology?" "Our ground forces are searching the ruins now. We should have everything within 2 days." Vaxius smiled, showing his sharp teeth. The Villani medical technology would make the Kreth Empire very powerful. With it, Kreth warriors could live much longer and fight many more battles. Suddenly, alarms began ringing all over the ship. "Commander," shouted the sensor operator. "Ships are coming out of hyperspace." "How many?" Vaxius demanded. 60 ships, sir. Unknown design. They are not Villani." Vaxius walked to the big screen to look. The new ships were smaller than Kreth vessels, but they looked very different. Where Kreth ships were built for fear and intimidation, these ships looked like they were built for fighting. They had thick armor and many weapons. "Who are they?" he asked. Naru checked his computer. "Unknown species, Commander, but they are sending a message." The message came through in perfect Villani language. A female voice spoke clearly and firmly. "This is Admiral Hyeman of the Human Defense Fleet. You will stop attacking the Villani people immediately. You will leave this system now, or we will make you leave." Vaxius laughed so hard that his whole body shook. "Humans? I have never heard of humans. Tell me, Naru, how many ships do we have?" 230 ships, Commander. "And how many do they have?" 60, sir. "Send them a message. Tell them that if they leave now, we will not add their ships to our collection." But even as Vaxius gave this order, he was curious about these humans. What species would be crazy enough to attack a Kreth fleet when they were outnumbered 4-1? On the human flagship, Admiral Hyeman received the Kreth reply and shook her head. "They want us to run away," she told her bridge crew. "Should we send another warning?" asked Captain Donghae, her second in command. "No, we warned them once. That was more than they deserved." Hyeman turned to her weapons officer. "All ships, prepare for combat. Fighters launch immediately." Lieutenant Taehyun was already sitting in his fighter when the launch order came. His ship Soul's Fury shot out of the destroyer's hangar like a bullet. Around him, 200 other human fighters spread out in attack formation. "All fighters, this is Flight Leader Jiwan," came a voice over the radio. "Stay in groups of 4. Hit fast, hit hard, then get out. Remember, these aliens have never fought humans before. Use that surprise." Taehyun checked his weapons. Human fighters were built to fly in Earth's thick atmosphere and strong gravity. This made them much faster and more maneuverable than most alien ships. The first Kreth interceptors came to meet them. These were small, fast ships with big guns. Taehyun had studied the intelligence reports during the trip, so he knew what to expect. "Fury Squadron, follow me," he said into his radio. Taehyun dove straight toward the nearest Kreth fighter. The alien pilot probably expected him to turn away at the last second, like most species would do. Instead, Taehyun flew straight at the enemy ship until the last possible moment, then rolled to the side and fired all his weapons. The Kreth ship exploded in a ball of fire. "What just happened?" came a confused voice over the Kreth communication channel. Human ships could listen to alien radio frequencies. "They are not turning away," shouted another Kreth pilot. "They are flying straight at us." This was exactly what Admiral Hyemin had hoped would happen. Humans learned to fight on a world where everything was dangerous. They learned that sometimes the best way to survive was to attack when the enemy expected you to run away. On the Kreth flagship, War Commander Vaxius watched in shock as his interceptors were destroyed one by one. The human fighters moved like nothing he had ever seen. They twisted and turned in patterns that seemed impossible. "How are they doing that?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir," Naru replied, fear creeping into his voice. "Their ships appear to have much better maneuvering systems than ours." What Naru did not understand was that human technology was designed for survival, not conquest. Earth was a planet with violent storms, asteroid impacts, and gravitational anomalies. Human ships had to be able to dodge and weave through dangers that would destroy other vessels. "Send the destroyers to engage their main fleet," Vaxius ordered. 30 Kreth destroyers moved forward to attack the human ships. They were confident because they had bigger guns and thicker armor than the human vessels. Captain Sunwoo watched them coming on his screen. "All weapons, target the lead ship. Fire when ready." The Busan's Edge fired its main guns. The energy beams hit the Kreth destroyers' shields and did nothing. "Their shields are stronger than we expected," reported the weapons officer. "Try again," Sunwoo said calmly. This time all ships focus fire on one target. 6 human destroyers fired at the same Kreth ship. This time the shields collapsed and the alien vessel took heavy damage. But then the Kreth ships fired back. Their weapons were designed to destroy cities and break apart planets. When they hit human ships, alarms rang and lights flickered. "Shields down to 40%, reported the defense officer on the Busan's Edge. But something strange happened. The human ship did not break apart or catch fire like the Kreth expected. Instead, it kept fighting. "Sir," Naru said to War Commander Vaxius, "our weapons are hitting their ships, but they are not being destroyed. How is that possible?" What the Kreth did not know was that human ships were built to survive in space around Earth. Earth's solar system was full of radiation, meteor storms, and gravitational stress from multiple moons and a large sun. Human technology had to be incredibly durable just to function in normal space. Major Soo-young led the first boarding action. Her assault ship flew toward a damaged Kreth cruiser, dodging weapons fire and debris. When they reached the enemy ship, her Marines used cutting tools to break through the hull. "Go, go, go," she shouted as her soldiers rushed into the alien ship. The Kreth warriors inside were big and strong, with 4 arms and sharp claws. But they had evolved on a world with low gravity and a peaceful environment. They had never fought enemies like humans. Humans evolved on a world where survival required constant struggle. Early humans had to fight predators twice their size with nothing but simple tools. They learned to work together, to never give up, and to turn any disadvantage into an advantage. The Kreth warriors were confused when the humans did not act scared. Instead of running away from bigger, stronger enemies, the human Marines attacked in organized groups. They used tactics and teamwork that the Kreth had never seen before. "This deck is secure," Major Soo-young reported 15 minutes later. "Enemy crew has surrendered." On the planet's surface, Captain Jiho watched the space battle through his ship's sensors. For the first time in days, he felt hope. "Minho," he said, "send a message to the human ships. Tell them where our people are hiding. Maybe they can protect our cities." "Yes, Captain," Minho replied, his natural glow brightening with renewed hope. But War Commander Vaxius was not ready to give up. He had fought many battles and conquered many worlds. These humans might be tougher than expected, but they were still outnumbered. "All ships, surround the human fleet," he ordered. "We will destroy them with superior numbers." Admiral Hyaman saw the Kreth ships moving to encircle her fleet. Any normal commander would be worried. But Admiral Hyaman was human, and humans had, been dealing with impossible odds for their entire history. "All ships move into defensive formation," she ordered. "Prepare for close-range combat." The human ships moved together like a pack of wolves. Instead of spreading out to avoid being surrounded, they grouped together to concentrate their firepower. "Admiral," asked Captain Donghae, "should we call for reinforcements?" "No," Yemen replied, watching the enemy ships close in. 60 ships are enough." She was about to show the galaxy what happened when someone threatened innocent people in front of humans from Earth. The real battle was about to begin.